Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from the Singapore FinTech Festival, and joining me for this segment, we have Katherine Ng. She's founder and managing partner of Katashe Solutions. We're here to discuss how a new approach to technology governance and how it can help shape the inclusive global financial markets. Katherine, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill, for having me.
All right, you got it. We know Asia is leading the change in terms of adopting digital assets and providing that framework around it. As we think about governance frameworks moving forward for the global financial markets, especially in fast-growing regions like Asia, tell us about this focus on technology and how you'll be able to govern at scale?
Yeah, great question, Jill. So Asia is home to 60% of the world's population, contributing to 60% of global GDP. And the way I see it, as we design governance frameworks for global financial markets, especially in fast-growing regions like Asia, we need to focus on how technology can govern at scale, whilst addressing real-time movement of money and assets. So right now, we have real use cases like prediction markets, poly market, calling the US elections, and enabling a global audience to actually participate in this kind of policy or governance impact.
Right.
On the RWA, real world asset side, we're seeing a $3 billion market worth of tokenized T-bills predicted to happen around 2024 with decentralized autonomous organizations representing grassroots movements and open governance models actually coming up and having a seat at the table and saying, hey, this is our voice and this is how we want to bridge both traditional capital markets and real and also digital assets.
Right, and tokenization, it really has had a big impact on this space, whether you're talking about treasuries, whether we're talking about stable coins. So it feels like tokenization and stable coins really have had a seat at the table and seem to be a key theme here at SFF, as well as a number of other fintech conversations that are taking place globally.
Yeah, and it does offer immense potential to unlock liquidity and digital ownership, and we have strong use cases and product market fit in stable coins, especially US dollar backed stable coins like USDC and Tether, and you have also permission use cases like JP Morgan's Onyx coin system that facilitates faster cross-border transactions globally. But we still see a big gap in terms of how do these open networks and closed networks interoperate, and that's where governance design needs to come in and actually embed technology into the process, because the way I see it, money is not just a store of value anymore. Right. It's become a form of technology in and of itself. It's programmable, it's embedded with logic capable of executing automated functions within financial systems. So as a result, technology governance becomes increasingly important to create frameworks that protect consumers like you and I, and we need these frameworks across data security, market integrity, consumer rights, and we need to make sure these systems remain compliant, transparent, and reliable as we build out an open financial system.
So Katherine, let me ask you a question. When you think about this hybrid technology governance approach, what does that look like? Are you combining elements of what you mentioned before from the grassroots perspective? One, what are those? And two, is it also going to have an element of regulatory oversight integrated?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jill. So from the grassroots perspective, I'm seeing collectives represented by DAOs coming to the fore, and these are, I think there's about over 13,000 DAOs currently in existence, representing almost $25 billion in capital. And these DAOs are representations of global collectives of digital communities in Web3 that are advocating for open governance models across open technology stacks, and it's interesting to see the R&D and innovation that's happening in the space around how do we keep our assets secure on-chain, how do we also enable institutional adoption and bridging that regulatory and policy conversation that's happening at the institutional level as well as we're seeing at SFF. How do we regulate for private markets, public markets. How do we create tokenized funds, for example? And these are conversations that regulators are having with industry players like the banks, traditional financial institutions, the BIS, Association of Banks of Singapore. They're all having these compliance conversations around KYC and AML, but I think it's important to also hear what the DAOs are doing as well when it comes to their treasury management systems. How are we keeping funds safe for our communities?
So you think about a DAO almost as a self-regulatory organization, if you will, like a traditional SRO, and looking to have those conversations with the regulators to ensure that there is this hybrid governance approach moving forward and not necessarily just replicating the structure that exists now.
Yeah, I think there's definitely best practices that both worlds can adapt from one another. Just like how we see the open internet as a public good today, anyone can access it. It's super inclusive. It's just you just need an internet connection. But then you have applications built on top that have their own governance rules. So a digibank like Trust Bank can build on top of the open internet layer. Similar, I would say that kind of hybrid process is happening within Web3 as well, where you have not just one HTTPS kind of protocol layer, but you have hundreds of protocols. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Algorand, etc. Like too many to name, but you can build upon that open stack, infrastack, and then there's multiple chains for that, and then you can create governance layers that hopefully match what the regulators are seeing if you want to do something very permissioned and compliant for a specific audience.
So tell us, Katashe, where do you fit within the ecosystem?
Yeah, we see ourselves as an advisory firm that bridges the gap between mainstream adoption and also the open innovation that we're seeing now in permissionless environments. I think I kind of see some of these builders are, they're really young, they're really smart, and it's about creating a common language for diverse stakeholders to come at a table and say like, hey, this is common alignment we want around creating safe, open financial capital markets, and this is the technology piece that needs to that can happen, that can enable that automation and security and that transparency that we all as end users want to see.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's really interesting to see how it is evolving in real time. So appreciate the insight, Katherine. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill.
And thanks for joining me from the Singapore FinTech Festival. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.